Have you ever had one of those times in your life where you felt something so strong, but you couldn't quite explain it? I had one of those experiences 11 years ago. In January of 2010, my wife and I welcomed our second daughter into this world. Her name was Summer Lydia, and she was 5 pounds, 9 ounces of beautiful. However, Summer was not long for this world, as 2 weeks later, on January 20, she passed away in the middle of the night from sudden infant death syndrome, also known as SIDS. As difficult as that day was, I remember dreading what was about to happen in the next few days, as we began preparing for the visitation, funeral, graveside, and worst of all, leaving the cemetery. The one thought that kept going through my mind was, how could we be expected to bury my daughter and then just drive away? As we went through the motions of the next few days, my mind kept going back to the dreaded moment when I had to leave the cemetery. When the day of the funeral came, my wife and I, along with family and friends, gathered for the funeral service. At the end of the service, everyone left the sanctuary at the church, so that the only people left were my wife, myself, and our daughter Summer. As my wife and I went up to the casket, we took a stuffed animal and tucked it underneath Summer's arm. Then we took her blanket and tucked her in. And finally, we closed the casket together. That's when something amazing happened. You see, my wife and I immediately felt this peace come over us. It was a kind of peace that I had never experienced before or ever have since. This peace was what Paul talks about in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, where it says, "And the peace that surpasses all understanding will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." You see, this peace stuck with us until after the graveside service had concluded and we had left the cemetery. I remember thinking as we left the cemetery that everything was going to be okay, because I knew that God was going to take care of my daughter. Maybe you're going through a difficult time right now as well. Maybe you're facing a trial that you don't know how to handle. If so, I want to encourage you to pray to God that He will give you a peace that surpasses all understanding. Because when you do, you will realize that everything will be okay, because our God is a God of peace.